Hey, everybody. We're here for another decadent episode. You know, it's been a while. They're laughing because I forgot to hit record, so this is take two.
I don't even like hear you once, let alone twice.
I know. We just got done watching the Amazon's soon-to-be international #1 hit movie, G20, with Viola Davis, Anthony Anderson, and we're pretty sure his daughter from Blackish. Not 100%, should have Googled it, but we didn't. We're sitting...
We didn't do it in the meantime either.
Yeah, we didn't do it in the meantime. We messed it up the first time, and I just didn't do it. We're sitting here, of course, with Plummer. Plummer brought us some cigars today, so Plummer, why don't you explain what we have?
So there's a company called Ezra Zion, which is, I discovered at my friend's wedding. It is... They do some very good cigars, and I've recently been buying these grab bags where they send you 5 cigars for $30 plus shipping and handling. And I've never had a bad one from them. They say sometimes the draw might be a little off, but I've never experienced that problem.
This one is really good.
I had a little bit of an issue with my cap, but to be honest, that's pretty common in cigars, so I'm not really... But the draw on mine is so easy, so smooth. Now, during the long, cold winter and the long, wet spring, Plummer has been bringing these over. We usually sit in the garage and put on a show, and we have these, and I've not had a bad one either.
Yeah.
So... Ezra Zion grab bags, they're
kidding.
random, they're not that expensive, and they're very high quality. So thank you very much, Plummer.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Of course.
All right, so let's jump into G20, starring Academy Award winner Viola Davis.
Was it sponsored by that Gamer Fuel company?
G20? Oh my God.
It's like G2.
G2? Well, this is like that times 10.
Oh my God.
Because there's much more action in this than drinking a bottle of G20. I guess it depends on how you edit it. But yeah, so essentially, Viola Davis, we'll do a quick rundown of the plot. It's pretty simple. You've seen this movie a million times if you've ever seen Die Hard. It's Die Hard at the G20, only John McClane is President Viola Davis, who was famous for having a picture taken of her when she was in Fallujah, rescuing a small boy. And they go there, and Homelander himself, Anthony Starr, has decided that they're going to use this opportunity to essentially derail her plans to try and put like the World Bank into but they were gonna put it into crypto, right?
Yeah, it was digital currency, so that was easy access
funds
for
globally.
farmers.
So it's like a world central bank.
Yeah.
And the plan was then to increase farming production in like sub-Saharan Africa, and try to end world hunger that way. So they go there, terrorists take over, they start using technology, they record the world leaders saying, what is it called, a pangram?
Pangram, I think something like that.
Yeah, pangram or something.
Yeah.
So that way they can deep fake them all. And this is all information you're going to get if you watch the trailer anyway. The pangram, and then they can make deep fakes of them saying whatever they want to try and tank global economies while making themselves wealthy. And of course, it's up to our very stoic Viola Davis and her band of camaraderies to join forces and stop the terror attack. Overall, I mean, that's pretty much the movie. There's not really much in the way of spoilers. I mean, as we discuss going forward, we'll probably talk about specific things we like and dislike. But if you're interested in whether or not we should watch it, let's start with Dad. Would you recommend this movie?
Yes, I would. I would recommend this movie. It's a fun little action movie. Nothing that serious, and it, there's parts that are a little over the top, but not anything that egregious, and away you go. It's just a fun little popcorn movie. Beer and pretzels. There you go.
There you go. How about you, Plummer? Would you recommend this movie?
Yeah, I would. I liked the first 2/3 more than the last third, but because the setup and the characters, they were all. Yeah. I mean, they could be. Some of them were a little tropey, but I didn't feel like Viola Davis as president was too tropey, and I didn't. And the way she interacted with everyone was fairly charismatic, and that's important to me. I need likable characters in a movie, and the bad guy was half Hans Gruber, half actual, ideologist, and
right, yeah,
and so that worked, and it was actiony, and there were a couple good action sequences, and then there were a couple ones where I was like, I could take it or leave it, but overall, it's a dad action movie in my opinion. You sit down, you watch it, you're not mad.
Yeah, it feels very much like something you'd watch if it was on TV.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what's this? And you just kind of sit and keep watching. I am going to agree actually, and also recommend it. I recommend watching it with your friends though, because if you're watching it by yourself, I have a feeling a lot of people will be checking their phones, right? I feel like
that's true.
our ability to kind of quip and riff with the film and then just talk to each other about it. And
Yep.
I feel like it's a good watch with your buddies kind of movie. So if you're watching it with friends, you'll probably find it kind of fun, cheesy, like any of those Liam Neeson style films. If you don't watch it with your friends, you'll probably find it super boring, and you probably won't enjoy some of the dialogue and plot beats as much as we did, because, again, it was a social movie for us,
Right.
and it felt like a social movie. So, yeah, so that's 3 for 3, recommend it.
Yeah.
So we're going to go into probably spoiler stuff, things we liked, things we didn't like, because Plummer really hit the nail on the head. He's right. The first 2/3 of the movie are much better than the last third.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with you that Viola Davis in the first 2/3 of the movie acts more like like a regular person. She does have some combat training, but she's old. They show us the sparring session, and she does okay. She knows the judo, like you were saying.
I was saying it was very Putin because we've actually seen, Putin in a judo outfit, sparring with people. And I'm not comparing her to Putin at all, but
No.
world leaders do.
There's an analogy.
Yeah.
There's something analogous for it.
Yeah.
So I was expecting, based on the trailer, that it was going to be a full-on. She was just going to beat up everybody. She was going to be almost like a Terminator kind of
Liam
person.
Neeson hacker.
Yeah, and they don't do that, and they lean a lot into her character and her family, which I feel was pretty good.
That was pretty good. Yeah, I was going to say the first family had quite a bit to do with the movie as well. So they kind of spaced everything all out. It wasn't just all about her.
Yeah, it kind of feels to me like they definitely sat on the script a little bit and tried to refine it. The stuff with the kids, especially from the halfway point on, kind of feels like a remnant from a different script. It's
The first half, I really liked them.
Yes.
The second half, they were generic kids in danger,
Yeah.
getting into trouble, kind of.
Yeah, they ran out of what they were going to do with them. The daughter having evaded Secret Service, she's like, I know how to hack RFID chips and stuff.
Right.
And then,
Which isn't difficult with RFID,
No, and so that comes around to do that. She comes around and she hacks that, which was a good. They set that up and paid it off for her. Yeah. And then she's kind of out of things to do. So when she tries to leave the security room, she's like, "You stay here. I'll make sure Special Forces gets to Mom." Okay, if you had just waited 30 seconds, Mom disarms the situation. Yep. How are you going to lead the Special Forces there? You don't have a plan.
Well, she just went there and didn't even, they were we found her alone outside. It's that kind of makes sense. 17-year-old girl, they're going to follow me. They'll do something. And she just kind of goes there on her own and gets in trouble. I mean,
She, immediately gets captured, even though this event would have had to have happened after she would have had to try to lead the Special Forces there.
Yeah, that's what
capacity.
I didn't get.
The timeline doesn't add up.
The timeline didn't add up there. Because she
not
went,
egregiously so.
It's just, she walks out of the room.
and then she's
Special
caught.
Forces don't. Yeah, she's we're led to believe she's caught pretty quickly, but she can't be caught that quickly because the fight has to happen in the room.
Right.
So Anthony Starr can get out, and then security's right behind it. So it's if she met up with security, it means Anthony Starr snuck out the back and stole her from the security attaché.
Well, my what I just said, my theory is that she never even found the security. She's just
Yeah.
I'm
Just
gonna go there and
wandered.
kind of
Yeah.
try to call for them once I'm there. Maybe it's one of those things that.
Yeah, but then Anthony Starr still kidnaps her, so that timeline not quite adding. But it's fine. Like I said, the last third of the movie has some of that cheese factor to it, where it's of course the daughter's going to be kidnapped.
Falling off a cliff, hanging on.
Yeah.
Oh, the most crazy.
Well, at least she wasn't hanging onto the helicopters. What do you call them? The
pontoon things or whatever they are.
she was hanging onto the
rails.
net.
Yeah,
that
she
was
had
on
the
side of
net. She
cargo
didn't have
netting.
the rail.
That's true.
Yeah, she didn't have the rail.
You know what? Because they show her jumping and kind of taking Anthony Starr down, and we're like, oh, wow. It's but we know she's not dead.
Right.
You know what would have been really kind of a good payoff? Her foot got caught in the netting, and her jacked up knee, because it bent the wrong way, is what stopped her from falling or something. Bring in the knee trauma, because they don't. They set it up
didn't.
early, and
They
it
set
never
it
comes
up early,
back.
but they never paid off. Even though she did a lot of kicking and
That was probably the
and
only thing they
pushing.
didn't pay off.
yeah.
Was her knee trauma.
What about the boiling water?
All right, run us through the boiling water. Plumber.
Boiling water.
So they're walking through this kitchen, there's 3 bad guys in there, and they keep framing these boiling pots of water, 3 different ones, and so you're expecting, I don't know, sleepaway camp.
You are, yeah.
And just nothing. The
James
guy
Earl
gets hit in the
Jones.
face with a grill. He gets. Well, at least they're establishing that the ovens are on.
Yeah.
So
That's why we saw the boiling water.
The boiling water. But even then, and when we had the caption on it, even said boiling water. I mean, it's like paying it off.
They pointed out
boiling water, and then nothing. Nobody got hit with it, but they did use water for an electrocution. See, so there you go.
Yeah, they did. They did set up the water, but that was an overflowing sink.
Yeah, overflowing
yeah, right.
sink.
That boiling water was totally like we just like here it comes, and then they never did it. They didn't even mention it when the guy got shot because usually when people get shot, they're like, "All right, bring me clean rags and boiling water." So we're like, "Oh, maybe the boiling water is to clean the guys." No, not at all. Yeah, it's. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Was there any other setups and payoffs like that?
Well, some of it, like you said, the social aspect of watching, like, because we were all sitting there talking about after all that stuff where the girl got grounded, the daughter was grounded for sneaking out and all that, and we're all saying, well, look at her now after the president went through and kicked a whole bunch of butt. You know, we were like, hey. You know, I bet you the daughter's not going to give her any lip now. And then the brother said, "Hey, look at her! You're lucky you got grounded."
You only got grounded. Yeah.
She could have done this the whole time.
I think there was another like the last spoiler in the movie. Basically, is that when she was talking to her Treasury secretary at home, and she's like, we did that, and now we're friends again. And Viola Davis goes, "We never weren't friends." And the other lady's like, and then you find out that she orchestrated the thing,
right?
And so it's like, okay, that was a pretty good setup and payoff, and that one took the whole movie to. So if you think about it like that's why I liked her interactions with the characters. Viola Davis did a fantastic job of interacting with everyone and showing a little bit of compassion and toughness, and she was not tropey at all, in my opinion.
Not until the end of the movie.
Well, yeah, but everything was a trope.
Everything's a trope in the last third. Yeah, in the last third, everything is a trope.
Like the elevator fight, I thought was really good because it wasn't. I thought she was going to Captain America them, but no. Then she gets beat up by the guy, and when they pin down this guy, it's not her pinning it down with his whole strength. It's her and her bodyguard like holding their neck on this person. She's getting overpowered. He's getting overpowered. He helps her, and then she helps him, and it really is a sort of coordinated and chaotic, and I thought that was a very good scene.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was a good scene because she is being wildly overpowered and she's like being choked.
Yeah, she was.
She had ripped her dress off because, and this is another thing they set up, she didn't want to wear the high heels, and the dress was cut for the high heels. So as she's running around, she's talking with Anthony Anderson, and she's like, "I hate these shoes," and he's like, "You can change. I won't tell anyone." And so they show her stepping out of the elevator, and she's got sneakers on. And we were like, ha, 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 ha. And so she tries to run, but because the dress isn't cut to the same length, she steps on the dress and rips it. So then she tears it off, and tries to make it more into a more functional, like, skirt kind of thing, right? And because she had all that red fabric, the Italian, was it Prime Minister, I think so?
I think.
The Italian lady, she spins it up and drops it into the elevator to try and strangle the guy who's strangling her, and they all try to, in the top of the elevator, try to pull it back.
Yep.
So that pulls off, and that changes the dynamic of the fight enough to get the gun and do the shit. And just like, it was clever because all those pieces came together.
And then she had some great moments with the surly Prime Minister of England and the Italian lady who didn't, who was like, "I'm very anti this," They have very human moments together, which ends up affecting their foreign policy at the end, which it would.
Yeah, it's fine. You go through that, you can get the happy ending. It doesn't need to be real.
Right. And so like they did a lot of smart things. I thought the shootout with all the leaders in the room was very good. Like it wasn't just a blowout of all the security guards getting shot. They were fighting back because and they were all using pistols instead of automatic weapons because you had to be very picky about your targets if you don't want to shoot the leaders of the G20. You don't want to lose your hostages. Like that's the most important thing. And I thought that scene was really well done, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, as we were watching, we were like, "Hey, man!" Like, and it's great too. Is like that you were saying the security guys, they're not just there for cannon fodder. Some of them take out some of the bad guys. They do their jobs. So it was a good sequence.
Well, even when they went in and rescued him, that wasn't a bad scene. That when they went in and rescued him, when the team went in, that was kind of they did this
real
bang
quick,
bangs,
bang,
boom, and then you could see they were going for those people standing up. So it wasn't bad.
No, it was fine. And like we were saying, that by the end of the movie, you get into the trope. Everybody breaches. All the bad guys need to be taken care of.
Right. The Beast was pretty fun,
That Beast sequence was fun. Your steering wheel's on the wrong side. It's like, Mr. Prime Minister, you are in timeout. Because the Italian lady's like, "I'm not as tall as you, and I'm not as tall and confident as you. I need to wear these giant shoes." And we're like, okay. all right, sure, why not? And then she's like, all right, but I'm driving because, you know, the steering wheel thing. And she takes her shoes off and she drops like a whole foot. We're like,
They were like 4-inch platforms and heels.
we were like, oh, wow, she wasn't kidding. It's like, and then we were joking about how like she can't even see over the steering wheel drive until they show it. Them getting out, it's so funny because you had just got done saying, it's like, oh no, that thing can take like a rocket launcher blast. And that's how they escape the compound, is like that missile explodes and sends them flying over the barricade and destroys like the other barricaded like Humvees. It was just hilarious. But good stuff. It's all that stuff that we're talking about positively is mostly within the first 2/3, because then they kind of do like a little bit of Rambo on it. The choreography becomes a lot more kind of lazy, especially when she's shooting everybody in that hallway.
See, if it had been, or the atrium, but if it had been
There's the lobby. Yeah.
Yeah, if she had needed more than one shot, I would have felt it was more realistic. I mean, her being a good shot is fine. Them hesitating to shoot because you don't want to shoot the president of the United States before you get.
You still needed her.
Before you get the.
But you don't run at her one at a time, like in a martial arts movie. You know, they
one at a time.
And they all just happen to run, and they all fall within like a same 10-foot radius. Like, come on.
Well, I mean, and it's her shooting them one at a time, one shot in the head. Like, we haven't established that she's John Wick. You know, like it would have taken her.
Struggled. Yeah, she struggled previously.
Well, even if she's a great marksman in that situation, you know, it doesn't matter. It's by that point,
right?
Like it's too much action movie in that sequence for me.
Yeah, because it had more of a, honestly, even though it's kind of like a Die Hard, it almost had more of like a Lethal Weapon feel to it, where like people like kind of like buddied up, and there was like, you know, some good action sequences, but a lot of like kind of like interchange. Not to the point where it's like every scene is followed by a joke or a quip, but like they did it enough to provide some levity after certain things.
That's probably a better analogy than Die Hard is, like Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, it's more of a Lethal Weapon
in terms of
Yeah.
But yeah, I really don't have too many negative things to say about it. I thought I was going to have a lot more.
Yeah. Based on the commercials, I really thought this was going to be
bad marketing.
I thought it was really going to be a bad movie. It really did.
No, they did a good job, especially with the character work. Like we were saying, like there's a lot of stuff to set up these characters early on. You spend just enough time getting to know them. They're not like, don't get me wrong, this isn't like, wow, what amazing characters.
Right.
But you get enough, like where they start, they get a little bit of an arc each character.
Yep.
It's enough for like a hour 45, however long it was movie.
About hour 43, yeah.
Yeah.
And it really helps that they picked good actors and they let the actors. They must have encouraged them. The director, whoever she was, she must have done. She did a good job because she got performances out of them.
I will say I noticed her last name was Riggin, and I was like, she is very lucky that those two letters aren't swapped.
But yeah, no, I'm just saying that she did a good job getting performances out of her actors because I think she did a good job motivating them to care enough where their performances were well done. They weren't like, oh, you're here in the scene, say your line, let's get out of here.
Yeah, when you have like professional actors, like when she's talking with the prime minister about her past and how she feels like a fake, and he gets to tell the Winston Churchill, because as he's doing that speech, the dad's like, you know who that is? Winston Churchill. And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it was pretty fun. I really don't, I'm kind of...
There's never a lot to talk about when it comes to an action movie.
Yeah. So how about you, Dad? Any final thoughts, any things you wanted to talk about?
No, not really. Like I said, I'll just have them, I recommend that you watch it and have fun with it, you know? Watch it with, like we said, watch it with a bunch of people and have some fun. Hey there, buddy. Come here.
Plummer, any final thoughts on this one? It's a pretty quick one for us.
That's a dog. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the
Hank,
dog.
no, stay away from my electronics. It was one job. Keep him inside for 30 minutes.
Come here, buddy.
Anyways,
There you
that's
go.
all the time we got for this because Hank's about to knock everything over. So,
Oh, he's good.
yeah. Well, he doesn't mean it. He's attached to a leash.
Hi, buddy.
And now to talk about White Lotus Season 3.